What's up, Warriors fans, and welcome back to Warriors Latest. As always, I am your host, Max Arizin. Thanks to Underdog for sponsoring today's video, and thanks to you guys for liking, subscribing, and hitting that notification bell, as I do post new Warriors videos daily, and it does help the channel continue to grow as the season moves along. Now, thinking about it, this Bucks game was exactly what the Warriors needed, especially after that tough loss against the Clippers the other day. Now, that Clippers loss was just so frustrating because of how the game just slipped through the Dubs' fingers, and it could have been it could have been such an amazing comeback win, and turned out to be just such a heartbreaking loss. But this Bucks game was exactly what the Warriors needed, because they were able to show everybody what they could do when they're firing on all cylinders. And yes, it was a single-digit win, but they maintained control the entire time. They were getting shots up, they were moving the ball around, everybody was getting touches. Like, there were guys coming off the bench being spark plugs for them in many different ways, both on the offensive, defensive end. Steph put up 31, put up a show. Jimmy had a great game. Draymond even had a great game with a number of threes to go along with 7 assists. You love seeing that. And on top of that, we got to see how, one, the Warriors offense can really get it done when they're running on all cylinders, as I said before, and how Giannis could potentially impact this team should the Warriors decide to trade for him at the trade deadline. Now, the Giannis trade is going to be an eventuality because of how the team is doing. It's all really determined by the next 4 weeks, let's say. Well, yes, the next 4 weeks, because if the Bucks go sour, he is going to request a trade, and if he requests a trade, they're going to look to accommodate him. The problem is, because the Knicks have said they're not interested in making a major trade, which is his number one destination, and the Heat aren't going to give away a ton to get a player who could potentially become a free agent at the end of next season, as well as Toronto being like, we're not going to trade for a guy that we really don't want sort of cutting bait after the end of next season, because they've already experienced that with Kawhi. They don't want a singular rental player like Giannis, who could just dip out and they not really do anything. Now, on top of that, what the Hawks got in exchange for Trae Young, who is younger and almost the same level of star. He's not MVP level, but he's still very up there. He is a great point guard in this league. But what they got in exchange for Trae Young, which was basically a salary dump, they got pennies on the dollar for Trae Young's talent. They got CJ McCollum as well as Corey Kispert. Now, Kispert is a young guy, but he's nothing more than a role player. And CJ McCollum, yes, they may be able to flip him and Kristaps Porzingis for Anthony Davis in the long run, because they want to cut a lot of salary, but we don't know that for certain, and it's tough to see the fact that, is Anthony Davis for Trae Young really what you want to get? I mean, I get that Jalen Johnson is making the strides the right way, but so on and so forth. But that should make the Bucks sweat, and it should make them extremely nervous, because think about it. If they trade him now, who's going to give them any offers? If they trade him in the offseason, are they going to get the King's ransom that they want in exchange for him, similar to what the Nets got for Kevin Durant, similar to what the Nets got in exchange for Mikal Bridges, similar to what the Jazz got in exchange for Donovan Mitchell, as well as for Rudy Gobert? The answer is probably not in the modern NBA, because it values spreading the money out, and Giannis's contract is extremely top-heavy. Now, the Warriors, on the other hand, they'd be willing to give up that kind of cap flexibility in exchange for Giannis, because they can trade the 3 unprotected first, which, if they bring Giannis into the fold, he will definitely help make them a perennial playoff contender that will keep those unprotected picks outside of the lottery. Now, on top of that, the Bucks do get two young players in Jonathan Kuminga as well as Pods, and an expiring contract in Draymond Green, as he likely won't pick up his player option or will go for a buyout after this season should he get traded to the Bucks and not rerounded to most likely Detroit. So I definitely see it going the Warriors' way, and just the way he was able to play against and lead the offense against the Warriors in a losing effort. I mean, on multiple occasions, I saw him grab a rebound on one end of the court and then race everybody down on a fast break to the other end, even though they had a head start, and then beat all of them. Imagine that with the Warriors, him grabbing the rebound and being the big man that the Warriors have been missing forever. Just run it down quickly, is able to see either Will Richard, Steph Curry, DeAnthony Melton, or Al Horford on the side, and then dish it to one of them for a quick three if he doesn't like the shot he has, and then boom, next thing you know, Warriors are up 10. So don't be surprised if something like that happens, because the Warriors can offer that treasure trove that the Bucks are going to be looking for, because they're not going to get it either at the deadline from anyone else or during the summer on draft day or in the middle of July. Now, speaking of DeAnthony Melton, his performance versus the Bucks was something else to behold, because you know what? I did not see this coming, because I've been a bit of a DeAnthony Melton hater, because he took too long to recover, and it got kind of annoying, especially when, because of his roster space, Pat Spencer didn't get the opportunity to play more. He's been DNPs, but I believe he does deserve that opportunity to be Steph Curry's backup. But Melton is playing much above his contract, and I think that's a benefit to the Warriors, because after they trade Giannis, they also need to fill some other voids that they have on the roster, like a backup 4, a backup 3, a backup 5, and so on and so forth. So it presents interesting opportunities and says, hey, you know what, if we like where DeAnthony Melton is, if we like where Gary Payton II is, if we like where Pat Spencer is, we're not as worried about trading or not getting fair value for Moses Moody and Buddy Hield. And I think they will end up trading them because of the value that they're going to get back in exchange, and the voids that the players they get back are going to fill for that Warriors roster as they look to compete for a championship. Now, fast breaks, buzzer beaters, and block parties are back, and Underdog is the best place to get in on all the action. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like points, rebounds, steals, and more. Get your picks right, and you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. Today on Underdog, I'm looking at the Heat Bulls game and selecting Kobe White to go higher than the 16.5 points, and Kel'el Ware to also go higher on the 8.5 rebounds. Download the app today and use promo code BASKETBALLFAN to score $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code BASKETBALLFAN. Underdog. Make picks, win money. Now, since the Warriors have the day off, it's good to know that guys like DeAnthony Melton and Al Horford are going to play every single one of the next 7 games, and there are going to be some tough games on there. But the one thing I noticed when watching the Bucks Warriors game is they mentioned that Chris Mullin predicted that the team would go 7-1 on this homestand, and I have to admit, I think Chris Mullin will be right on this. The Warriors have the opportunity. They're a great team at home, and they've got their entire roster playing. And if they have DeAnthony Melton and Al Horford playing every single game, they're going to do some real damage during this homestand. But again, these next 7 games are the time for the Warriors to make the move. Yes, they may have to make a trade or a small trade during this time, but this is their opportunity to make a move to jump up the standings out from the 8th seed into a top 6 seed. Now, if they do that, they can continue to build on that momentum and continue to get better, because say they come out of this homestand going 7-1 or even 8-0, which is something I really hope they do, but you never really know. Now, if they go 8-0, they're going to be hot as a pistol, and if they're playing on all cylinders, even hopefully, maybe let's go with 6-2. If they're going 6-2, that's perfect, because it allows them, all right, there are there are some good things that we have going on, but there are some things we can do better. And maybe say in that same amount of time, Giannis looks at the Bucks and they go on a bad losing streak and says, "I want to trade." Warriors can just jump out, boom, we got what you need. Just bing bang boom, get the deal done quick, and then just continue to build on that momentum that they already have with the addition of Giannis into the fold. Now, on top of that, they could also finally decide, since DeAnthony Melton is going to be playing every single one of those games, to say, "Hey, Buddy Hield, Moses Moody, we love you, but we have other guys that we need on this roster in order to become true championship contenders. They can get the job done, but this homestand has to be just like one game at a time, but you got to win every single game. There are no games like last week versus the Thunder where the game is just a wash to rest some players. There is no rest when it comes to these players for these next 7 games. And every single player on the Warriors roster needs to be ready for a battle to the death every single game, because if they go below 500 in this homestand, they're going to have a lot of trouble catching up to the rest of the West when it comes to just trying to make the playoffs on top of trying to become a championship contender, because it's going to be tough to play catch up from the trade deadline on. I get that they went 23-8 to end the season last year after they acquired Jimmy Butler, but it's going to be a lot harder than that because teams are prepared and they are ready to get aggressive. Now, bottom line is, like I said before, how they do in this homestand and the momentum they build on this homestand will determine the moves they make at the deadline. Now, if they don't do well and they get a little too ahead of themselves, I get the feeling that they're going to try and make some overly desperate moves to try and get better, and it's not going to work. They're not going to swing for the fences, but they're going to swing for something stupid, and it's not going to be great. But if they build momentum, I think they're going to swing for the fences, and they're going to have a huge home run of a trade come the trade deadline. They're not going to expect it, but it's going to be something big. Now, that's all we have today for Warriors Latest. As always, thanks to Underdog for sponsoring today's video, and thanks to you guys for liking, subscribing, and hitting that notification bell. Now, if you have any ideas on are those 3 unprotected first-round picks enough, along with Kuminga, Draymond, and Pods, enough to acquire Giannis, or should other players be added to that deal? If you think so, feel free to comment below, as I love hearing your ideas. And as always, go Dubs.